Alright, so today is the first day that we get a lot of news thrown at us about Madden. So from the EA Play, in reality, we found out two things. One, Madden's going to be on PC, which is pretty awesome. And two, they have a new player model for Shaquem Griffin, which, that's kind of awesome because some people thought that they were going to skip on that a little bit. What else we found out from a lot of the dev blogs that are getting released? From a miscellaneous outside standpoint, there's going to be more celebrations, stuff like that, custom celebrations, ways you can steal celebrations. They have new defensive formations, which is what the Philadelphia Eagles ran a lot, the 4-2-5, which is, nickel, which is pretty awesome. But really the only thing we found out today about franchise mode, which is I'm sure why you clicked on the video, is we got a little bit of, inside look of how the schemes are going to change, how the archetypes are going to work, and how the XP system is essentially going to be implemented in this game. And I'm going to say so far from a quick, from just a quick take, it looks like this game's going to feel a little bit different than what we saw in Madden 18. And in reality, Madden 18-16, it's been about 3 or 4 years since franchise mode truly felt different. So let's kind of jump into it here. So first off, we found out that, it's when you're building your roster in franchise mode, it's always about getting the right scheme fits. Now, it's not always a prerequisite, but if you're trying to get a nose tackle to play in a 4-3, you might not get the best results, but they're going to reward you a little bit for proper team building here in Madden 19. So if you get the right player, normally you have your XP skill tree that you get for, you get X amount of tackles for the week or whatever, but now you're going to get a little bit of a boost, a bonus for players that play in the correct team, which ultimately, kind of puts a little bit of difficulty when it comes to building your team. And another dimension that you need to worry about, and one thing we've been screaming at the top of our lungs that we want to see in franchise mode is more immersion, more realism, and to really feel like you have your own stamp over your team. A little bit of a, it's a pride thing maybe, or whatever. Just feel proud, like I built my team. I had to, scatter through the draft to make sure I got scheme fits. Right now, don't really need scheme fits, and ultimately you probably can still kind of cheese it and just change it in edit player. But for those guys that want the 100% real aspect of building a team and having it correlate with what your scheme is, what your culture is, this is definitely a welcome addition to the franchise mode. So player archetypes, they are the big thing that we've been told that's coming to franchise mode this season. And I'm not going to be misquoted. I'm just going to straight up read what we know so far about player archetypes. Player archetypes fit within schemes, and there are now up to 4 archetypes for each positional group. For example, the quarterback archetypes are Scrambler, Strong Arm, West Coast, and Field General, which is kind of what the play style. It's already been a function that's been in franchise mode. But if you're running a vertical scheme, the archetype you're looking for is Strong Arm. So, again, it's more immersion, puts a lot more importance on getting the right players for your team. So I kind of view this as, in reality, when you play your franchise modes, every team feels the same. The play calling feels the same. The AI, it's if you're the New York Giants can't run the ball to save their life. You would expect them to be throwing it with Eli and going to Odell and Evan Ingram. But when you play them in your franchise mode, they just run the ball. They'll run the ball on the first 3 downs and punt it if that's the case. And that's never going to happen in real life. So I kind of hope these archetypes and the more importance on scheme is going to give you a lot more realistic experience and have it be unique. Have every team play to their strengths and try to avoid their weaknesses, as opposed to just this bland vanilla, every team kind of feels the same that we've had over the last couple franchise modes. So continuing, each of the archetypes has its own internal formula that determines the attribute mix within the archetypes. Players whose archetypes fits the team's scheme get XP bonuses, so they will gain new skill points faster. So that skill point's kind of interesting. What does that mean? Is that going to elaborate? Is that just overall points? But there are no penalties for those that don't, and archetypes do not change a player's existing ratings. So you got someone like Antonio Brown, he's going to be good in multiple schemes. You can apply skill points to any of the archetypes, so if a player doesn't fit the scheme off the bat, you can level the appropriate archetype to eventually make them fit the scheme. Because of this archetype, the player progression in franchise mode is going to be a little bit different. Basically, it looks like you're going to have about 2 ratings. You're going to have your base overall rating and then your archetype rating, and you're going to get, your standard through weekly training and focus training, your overall dev points, and then you're going to have through other things, get your skill training, those skill points that we just talked about not too long ago. I didn't know what they were for. Those are for specifically going to your archetype. It does sound like player progression is going to be much improved. They added and actually adjusted the dev traits. So I kind of hope eliminates the stupid draft stories that gives away what a player's going to be. But there's no more slow. It's just normal, quick, star, and superstar. So that's kind of cool. That's something different, I guess. And then the last thing really to talk about is we have the custom draft classes, new ratings, and draft day. Draft classes, custom draft classes. Players can choose to use a custom draft class on week 3 of their franchise. This can be imported, created, or loaded. which is awesome because I already can promise right now to the Madden community I am going to have some fire created draft classes for you guys to download. And hopefully there's crossplay between Xbox and PC, so you guys will be able to get the best of both worlds. Sorry, Sony ponies. It says that you basically, for a draft class, you start with a base pre-made one from EA that are normally in the game, and then I can go in and edit it as I want. I'm going to make literally 150 players. I'm planning on doing 200 players, real players per draft. It says you can create your own hidden draft gems and stash them in the lower rounds. If you can imagine it, you can draft it, which is something that I need to see how that plays out, because even with my own draft classes, I don't want to know the overalls. I kind of want it randomized. I kind of want the good players to be good, the bad players to be, I don't want to say there's bad players, but the 6th, 7th round guys to be fine. But every now and then you want to find a gem. So I think there might be a little bit of damper to it if I go into this knowing what the ratings are going to be. But we have to wait and see. They didn't really go too much into that, which is pretty good. It says draft day has been reworked to feature new draft location, complete with a stage and a crowd in a cityscape in the background. When you draft a player, you'll see that model come out on stage and even strike a pose. You can take 5 or 6 snapshots from within the game, which will then be threaded through the modes, through all the menus and stuff like that. So I guess that is, from an immersion standpoint, pretty good. They already said they changed the depth chart, which we already talked about in an earlier video about slot wide receivers, slot corners, special packages, defensive ends. You got team captains, which is pretty cool, but ultimately what we know is they're improving. They're adding more depth to the franchise mode, and it's definitely a trend in the right direction in what we know so far. So I really do hope that this information here is not... We're going to get a lot more when they release the official franchise mode dev blog in the coming weeks. I actually think that'd be next week. Next week it should. If not, I'm going to feel a little disappointed because I still feel like there's more for them to give. For us for franchise mode, but from a starting standpoint, at the very minimum, it's better than what we got last year. I just more so really want that answer about the custom draft classes. If you're going to know all the ratings, whoever makes the draft classes, because I do think that that's kind of lame, but, beggars can't be choosers. Getting custom draft classes is still really dope. And, yeah, so what do you guys feel about all the news that came out today about Madden, especially the franchise mode? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, guys, if it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.